Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this review, we are looking at the Marvel Legends AoA Magneto, part of the Colossus Build-A-Figure wave, and this might be the best Magneto figure they've released to date. Unfortunately, that's not enough, because most of them have been pretty bad. And this figure does a couple of things nicely, but almost none. Almost none. There's a lot of stuff that's really terrible about this, and I know you don't want to hear that right off the bat, but that's the case, unfortunately, and my job is to review the figures as they are, not me being happy to have an AoA Magneto figure. That doesn't matter to you. What matters to you is the objective information, and I'm going to provide that. So let's go ahead and get him off the stand and take a closer look. This guy stands just shy of 17 centimeters, which is going to make him pretty close to about 6 3/8 inches, right around there. And it does have a better look than all the other Magneto figures they've released. They've improved on some things. However, they haven't improved on nearly enough. But before we get into that, let's do a quick question of the day. How do you guys feel about the AoA design for Magneto? Personally, I'm not in love with the long hair and the weird ponytail things that hang out of the front, but I don't really mind because he's mostly drawn cool enough that it doesn't bother me. Like even in this artwork on the back of the package, he looks kind of cool, kind of badass, kind of menacing. You can see how muscular his chest is, how muscular his arms are. He's got a skinny waist, big chest, not a whole lot of wrinkles going on and that kind of thing. And I'll show another reference image of the source material. And so you can just see what Magneto typically looks like and how cool he is. Whereas this figure doesn't really have any of that, unfortunately. First off, it's basically just solid red. Solid red, unpainted plastic. And then we do have some shiny purple here and there. So there's a little bit of paint up along the chest on the cape parts. But this is molded plastic. It's very, very cheap looking. And the cape is not a plastic they normally use for capes. And it's glossy and like stiff. It looks cheap. It looks really, really cheap. And it feels cheap too. There's no texture to it. The sculpt is relatively soft. It's not like a lot of wrinkles. And I know if it's like a heavy cape, you wouldn't have a lot of wrinkles. But even the wrinkles that are there, they just don't look good. They don't look refined enough. So that's a bit of a bummer. Also, by the way, I thought they had fixed this problem. We're back to having capes that don't hang properly. His collar is all the way up on his neck. It's supposed to be like that based on the sculpt. Because when you hold it like that, it actually sits properly on the figure. But it can't, because there's nothing holding it there. So, and also, if you're going to sculpt it to fit the figure that way, do something about it, but why not just have it hang straight down? Because the wind doesn't blow like that, so the cape should be hanging down, but the shoulder piece should be up where it belongs. This doesn't. This sits like that. So, yes, I'm going to do a Photoshop on this one because I'm just tired of seeing the giant thigh gap and the skinny long-distance runner legs. Like, yeah, there are muscles there, but they're not shaped like superhero legs at all, especially the way they draw AoA Magneto. Usually, he's got giant quads. Most superheroes do. This guy's quads are tiny. They're just really well defined and wrinkly looking. It looks like a sock, a tube sock filled with sausages. That's what it looks like. And his torso, by the way, like I mentioned on the artwork on the back, it's covered in wrinkles, and he doesn't have well-defined muscles, and he doesn't have big muscles. And we're using those skinny arms again with the tiny shoulders, and it doesn't look imposing at all. It looks goofy. It looks like a person in cosplay, and that's not good enough. Like, this is a key character, like one of the most important characters in all of Marvel Comics. You could argue that, but at least in the X-Men storylines, and it's just not a good figure. Again, they don't have the look down at all. The only thing that's really good about this figure, I would say, is the way they did the helmet. The helmet looks really nice. They did a good job on it. I'd say it probably could have been metallic more than it is, but they did a good job with the paint and the sculpt. The little dingy thingy up here, that's good. The face underneath doesn't look great. I think the sculpt is there, but the paint didn't do it any favors, so that's a bit of a bummer. And then the hair sticking out of the front like this, not laying on the chest like that, just like the cape. It's sticking out in a weird position and doesn't look right. So aesthetically speaking, this figure's a mess, and I can't tell if there's like some shading on these thighs here or if they're just a darker red because it's a different material. It doesn't look good. 4 out of 10 for aesthetics. This figure looks cheap as hell, and it doesn't look like it should for Magneto. Like, how about they just make the crappy figures, the characters that nobody cares about, cheap? And then they make these kind of anchor characters, like, not cheap at all. That'd be cool. But no, they're not doing that. This is disappointing as all hell. Okay, let's talk accessories. So we have the helmeted head, and then we have an unhelmeted head, which is actually sculpted really nicely. The paint's not bad. Could be better, of course, but The eyes are lined up and the eyebrows look good and the hair sculpt is nice. It's better than the helmeted head. So that's alright. If you like that, then you're aces. As far as hands go, we have the open hands that come in the package and then 2 fist hands. Then we get a couple of swirlies. That's it. I mean, that's fine. That's enough. 7 out of 10. That's fine. The swirlies are whatever. Does Magneto have a lot of swirlies on his wrists? I don't think that's a thing really, but I guess it's fine. That's alright. So yeah, that's okay. Now as far as articulation goes, the cape, like I said, is just floating around. The shoulder pads are connected to the cape. And so let's see how this works. The head, we have our standard hinge back there. It can't really go too far back because of the hair. Going forward, we can't because of the helmet. So you get a little bit of forward and back, but not a whole lot. Rotation side to side because of the back hair. This piece here is pretty limited, so you get some. Any attitude, just a touch. For the shoulders, they can get up to just about horizontal, pretty close, so that's alright. You get your rotation, of course, but these shoulder pads are hard plastic. By the way, this is a fairly hard plastic cape, like it's very sturdy. So these shoulder pads don't flex at all, so it just wiggles the whole cape around. Doesn't look good. So limited range there. Bicep swivel is fine. Double jointed elbow. If you do the top joint first, you get 90 degrees. If you do the bottom joint first, you get 90 degrees. The gauntlet does not rotate on the arm again, so you can't rotate it and you only get 90 degrees out of a double jointed elbow. Cut more away so that it works. Cut into the bicep a little bit more so that it works. These are action figures. Like, if you're gonna go for sculpt, the sculpt better be damn good. And these aren't good sculpts, so, or at least not good enough. So cut into it a little bit more and have good range. Because not being able to pose it and it not looking good isn't a good enough plan. Wrists have a swivel and a hinge. The ab crunch on the back, it goes a little bit back. A little bit of a pot belly thing right here because the angles are weird. Leans forward nicely, so that's good. Waist twist is a waist twist. A belt is floaty. Hips go all the way forward. No problem there. That kicks high. Good. Doesn't really go back. Going out to the side. Less than 45 degrees. That's pretty limited. Thigh swivel is fine. Double jointed knee is acceptable. Not as good as it should be. Should be better. We do get a boot swivel, so that's okay if you like those. Ankles go all the way back and all the way forward. That's great. And you get a decent enough ankle rocker, so that is fine. Ultimately, his articulation is average at best, minus the elbows and the neck. 6 out of 10. Very, very limited in the poseability. Not being able to pose his elbows is kind of unacceptable, and not being able to bring his arms forward because of the cape being connected to the shoulder pads, kind of unacceptable. This is about as lazy as they possibly could have been on this figure. And for the record, I'm not complaining about the sculptors. I'm complaining about the people in charge who are telling them what to do and what to spend time on and that kind of thing. I know sometimes people say, well, you're always complaining about the sculptors. They're not the ones making the decisions. I know. I'm not complaining about the sculptors. It's not up to them what gets approved or what doesn't. So I get that, but this isn't enough. You don't have enough sculpt. You don't have enough articulation. You don't really have any paint. There's not anything here that makes me want to own this figure other than it's a character that we haven't gotten yet. That's not enough as far as I'm concerned. You guys can let me know how you feel about that in the comment section below. But I'm going to give this guy a final verdict of 6 out of 10. It might be better than the other Magnetos, but that should tell you something. If this is the best one we've got, there's a problem. Because these things aren't cheap anymore. Especially now that they're climbing up to $25, $26 a pop, depending on where you buy them. That's too much. If you can still get them for 20, fine. But that's still a bit much for what we're getting. No paint. Minimal sculpt work, minimal articulation. What are we collecting these for? Other than we've already got big collections and we're bought in. That's not enough. That shouldn't be enough. Well, I'm not going to keep ranting about it. You guys can let me know how you feel about all of that stuff. So there it is, guys. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please do give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, please do give it a thumbs down. And if you haven't subscribed, consider it. You might want to. I do have new videos almost every single day. Might start skipping Wednesdays again since it's kind of a dry season for releases, but we'll see. But yeah, almost every day. And I've got thousands, over 4,000 videos already on the channel. So for the days I don't have anything, you can watch those. But anyway, you can come back for all of that stuff. And in the meantime, keep collecting.